Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Frankly Speaking on Fridays podcast. I am your host, Frank Pador. It is 5:05 p.m. Eastern Time, December 23rd, 2022. Hello. A couple of weeks have gone by since the last podcast, which is fine. As always, apologies for missing a week, but life happens. To begin with, how are you? What's going on? Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and there will be one more podcast before the New Year's comes up, which will be taking place December 30th. But until then, how are you? Are you staying warm if you're in the Midwest United States region? Because, we're having a lot of fun here. It is like negative degrees right now, and the actual feel is even more negative than that. I actually just got done shoveling the driveway. Ours, Shelby and I, and the neighbors. And that was quite a bit of fun. So I am warming up, doing the podcast. Thought I'd do the podcast, hopefully warm you up with some end of the year drive and cheer to send your way, because let's face it, there's like eight days left or so to this year, and it has been a hell of a year, hasn't it? A lot has been said, a lot has been done, not only amongst our own lives, but just worldwide, statewide, nationwide. It's been a little rough, in all honesty. Probably for the majority of us, especially us watching the, inflation just take everything apart. But I hope you have survived. I hope that you have been able to better yourself, no matter how many downs you have had and how many setbacks there have been financially, personally, mentally, emotionally, physically even. I've packed on some pounds. I'm not proud of it, but hopefully you are able to identify something which has developed amongst yourself as a positive, just something, anything. And we'll talk more about that next podcast on the 30th, when there is time to be able to just sit down, unwind or unwind, as some may say, and just reflect. I told you that story about, my high school theater director. We all need to have that moment where we just sit down and we reflect from where we once were to where we are now. But as for you, I know that you're not strong. I know that you're not weak. You are strong. You are capable. You persevere. You survive. You adapt. And though there are days where you don't want to get out of bed, you still do, because you know that there are obligations that need to be tended to. And you're the only ones that can do it. And you do it. You get it done. And it's that type of perseverance, that type of strength, which will develop even further and guide you towards where you want to be, who you want to become, and how you wish to engage others and be around those that you want to be around. I am indeed an advocate of one of those individuals that believe that who you associate yourself with reflects directly who you are and where you will go. So make sure you're hanging around the right crowd. Make sure you're taking care of yourself. And if you're able to, take care of the ones around you as well. Who knows when you may need their help. But it's been a year, hasn't it? Hasn't it? But in the meantime, for those of you who are amongst the fun blizzard, storm, winter warning watch area, stay inside. Do not drive. It's not worth it. Just stay put. Coast it out. It's only going to last a couple of days, if that, as of this point. And just stay warm. Make sure your pets don't stay outside for very long. And you do your best to just hunker down. Binge a TV show, holiday movies. Play some video games. Anything, everything. Just stay home, stay warm, lame it out like it's cross-teching, and you'll be good to go. So, I don't know what episode podcast this is. I believe we're on... Nope, not even going to say it. But as always, I commemorate these podcasts with a shot. So here's to you, my dear listeners. Here's to me, asshole in a room with a microphone. And here is to the Frankly Speaking on Friday's podcast. Don't forget, you can always chat with me. Send me communication via email at the fsofpodcast@gmail.com. Send in topics of suggestion, articles of interest, or just say hello. That's fine too. fsofpodcast@gmail.com. My past couple of weeks haven't been anything which was ultimately eventful. Still doing the job. Getting better at that, slowly but surely. There's a lot of details and this and that which goes into insurance, especially when you're maintaining a book of clients. So work has been going fine as far as I can tell. My therapy sessions are still going on, so those are good. I have been donating plasma as of late. I've done my second donation thus far, and my right arm is still bruised. My left arm is actually okay. That was the last one that I did. But I've done 2 donations so far, and after 2 donations, they will come back and say to you whether or not your plasma is even acceptable for use, because they have to run some consistency tests and, make sure that it is indeed usable to the general population. So I have collected a little bit of money as a result of doing that, which is awesome. But it also actually has helped me in other ways. Being diagnosed with restless leg syndrome at a young age, at 13, I was always on different types of medications. And from that early age, taking so many different medications for a neurological sleeping disorder, which really hadn't been duly noted, or at least hadn't had any type of prescription designed specifically towards it. I always felt that as a result of me taking different prescription after different prescription in order to see if it was best for me, if it complied with my body, I felt that my blood was tainted, which is why whenever blood drives came about, I never participated because I felt that my blood was no good from the drugs. So, because of financial need, Shelby has been donating plasma before me, and now I'm getting into it. So I've been poked and stuck and pricked. And it took me a while to be able to do so to begin with because of my sleep apnea. There was a portion on the questionnaire like, do you have sleep apnea? Yes, I do. Well, then I was speaking to the nurse. They're like, yeah, we're going to need more information from your doctor. Have them fill this out. It shouldn't be a problem. Just liability stuff. Okay, fine. I understand liability, insurance and all. So I have my doctor fill out the form. They fill out the form. They fax it to the place. Place calls back. Yeah, can't make out what she wrote. So, can you just bring it in? Sure, fine, I'll bring it in. I bring it in. All right, thanks for bringing this in. Now we're going to have our physician look over it in order to approve you or reject you. Okay. Third time going through, I have to do the whole process again, but I was accepted. And then the second time, which was this yesterday or 2 days ago now, I was accepted. It was Wednesday after work. I got in, I was able to donate a second time. So hopefully they will come back to me saying, hey, you're good to go. Just keep coming in and following our procedures and no problem. So I'll be able to make, additional monies on the side as well as being able to help and assist those who need plasma for their ailments. And yes, I absolutely understand the fact that any and all plasma place, they are selling a single bag of plasma for much more than what they're paying us out to with. And unfortunately, that's capitalism. That's just how that works. But hey, at least I'm taking a little bit home in order to help out with my debts and my bills and just general living expenses. So if you're able to, I would recommend donating plasma. A little money in your pocket, and you know that you're doing a little bit of good in the medical field, which is also why people donate blood, but I don't think you receive any type of monies from it. It might, if you're afraid of needles, I actually think this is a good way for you to be able to overcome that. I don't like anything about needles being put in me, ever. But I'm getting used to it, as being seasoned in, as one might say. But that's really what's been going on with me. And then, of course, holiday shopping. This podcast actually wasn't supposed to happen. I was actually supposed to be in Illinois right now, but because of this storm, I'm not able to visit my family for the holidays. So that is unfortunate. But they would rather have me safe and at home rather than risking my life traveling 300 miles in the middle of a blizzard full of snow and wind and ice. So please be safe. There's always next year to visit your family. Technology allows you to call, text, FaceTime. Utilize technology's advantages in order for you to be able to just be with your family without being able to be there. So that's basically just my 2 weeks. I've barely been streaming, unfortunately. But just trying to get by. Just trying to do. Keeping busy with life's unexpected complications. But like I said earlier, you're following and doing the exact same thing. Life's unexpected complications. And little by little, despite how irritating those things may be, you are getting by and you are succeeding. So, here's to you. Here's to me. So with that said, there are a couple of things that I wish to talk about. One of the things which has kind of made this past couple of weeks a little more difficult. And it's something that we see quite a bit within this time of year with this holiday in particular, this holiday season, is that if you haven't noticed, suicide rates are indeed up. And that's never a good word or topic to discuss. However, I know I have talked about this topic before, probably when I was discussing my own depression and my own mental state, and how if I can get out of it, then you can too. But that doesn't mean that I was able to, and I'm my own case. Now, I'm not saying because I got out of it means that everyone faces it differently. Sometimes it comes in waves, sometimes it's monstrous all at once, and sometimes it's just, it begins minimal and then it kind of just peaks and grows. Everyone's different. And whether you are someone like me who's just, doing their own thing, or whether you're a career person, whether you're a business owner, it can affect anyone. And when I say anyone, I mean anyone. Because there have been many suicides as of late, not only amongst those of the majority of the population, but amongst celebrities as well. And the most recent one which has come to mind is Stephen Boss, who is better known as the DJ of the Ellen DeGeneres show. Committed suicide, 40 years of age. Young. I'll be turning 31 in about a month. And one point or another, he could have been my older brother. To think of my older brother committing suicide it's heartbreaking. And not only are suicide ups, but just there have been a lot of celebrity deaths, which have been unexpected and unfortunate. Obviously, Stephen Boss is one of them. This article that I'm just going to flip through is from abcsnews.go.com, and it's a memoriam of people who have passed in 2022. And of course, all articles which I reference will be in the description below. But the first one that is mentioned, probably the most recent, is Stephen Boss. But another one is Kirstie Alley, 71 years old. I know her best as her role as Rebecca Howell in Cheers. But she's also known for Look Who's Talking, Drop Dead Gorgeous. She made an appearance with Dancing with the Stars. Bob McGrath, who's a founding cast member of Sesame Street, which premiered in 1969. Who else do we got? Christine McVie, John Aniston, Kevin Conroy. That one hit me hard. There will never be someone in my mind more iconic for the voice of Batman than Kevin Conroy. I grew up with his voice. Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill will always be my Batman and my Joker. No offense to all the other Jokers that have ever been about, which is a huge cast, too. But those two, nostalgia for me. So Conroy passing away, that was a big one. Aaron Carter passed away, 34. Jerry Lee Lewis passed away at 87. Yes. A lot of people know that Robbie Coltrane passed away. And if you think, well, the name sounds familiar, or you don't even know the name, if you've seen the Harry Potter movies, Hagrid, he passed away, I believe, from cancer, unfortunately. Angela Lansbury passed away. If you don't know who she is, well, she is Mrs. Potts in Beauty and the Beast, the animated series. And to me, I knew her first. Actually, I knew her first from Beauty and the Beast. But I didn't actually know her name until I listened to Sweeney Todd. She has a lovely voice and was Mrs. Lovett in Sweeney Todd. Let's see. Coolio has passed. There's so many. Of course, the Queen. Queen Elizabeth II passed away at 96. I watched that, her funeral procession, and she passed away in September. And I remember that because it was only a couple of days into my new job where I work right now that she passed. I began my new job September 6th. 2 days later, she passes. It's like, oof. And so I had that procession on my phone, of course. So, while we know that deaths are expected and will always occur. Oh, yes, Nichelle Nichols, 89. She was Lieutenant Uhura. I'm sorry, Uhura. In Star Trek. Shared a landmark international kiss with her co-star William Shatner. July 30th. Yeah. Oh. Here's the thing, is that we can look at these notable individuals, but they're not going to be as notable and potentially not even as impactful as the people that we know close to us who have passed away. And I do plan on having Shelby, my roommate, gamer tag Queen Shelby's, being a part of the podcast next week, but she lost her grandmother this past year, which I'm sure I may have mentioned in passing on previous podcasts, but hearing and appreciating these people's legacies and their works and this and that is good and great for us to be able to know. Oh yeah, Gilbert Gottfried. Dear God, he passed back in April. Wait, wasn't this the year too that Scott Hall of the WWE? So I just want to double check. It might have been last year, but part of me thinks ba 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 ba. Yeah. No, it was beginning of this year. Bob Saget. January 9th at the age of 65. Yeah, he died very early. Anyway, I will have that article up. But yeah, it's the people who are closest to you that hurt the worst. I am thankful that no one in my family has passed away. But it still equally hurts me when I hear someone that I know, or especially someone that I'm close to, watching them be in pain from someone passing. You can only partially relate to their pain. And it's always going to be different. So saying, I know how you feel, not entirely. Everyone's depth of emotion to someone passing is always going to be different. I think better than I know how you feel, trying to say something along the lines of, I can only imagine what you're feeling right now, where I can only attempt to relate. But to say I know how you feel, you're not them. You don't know the explicit details of their relationship and the relationship that they've just lost. So to me, even in second half, like the Queen passing, I don't have, as far as I know, any type of English bloodline within me. I'm mostly, Bohemian, German, and French, primarily. So the Queen passing, as far as like my connection to the crown, didn't really mean a whole lot to me. However, it meant a lot to Shelby of the Queen passing. And, watching her witness this notable character, regardless of how you feel about her politically or quote-unquote her choices while she reigned, because she was just a figurehead like the president of the United States. They're just puppets. There is someone always twisting their arm behind their back. There's a different podcast in which I spoke about that. But watching Shelby go through the pain just made me want to try and be supportive and try to understand what she was feeling as much as possible. And that's all you really can do when someone loses someone. All you can do is just try to understand. So, I know that some of my listeners, some of my followers, and people that I'm in communication with, either through this podcast, either through streaming, either just through who I know personally, many have lost people this year. And I'm sorry for your pain, and I'll never be able to understand, but I am here for you. And for your sadness. It's never easy to get through. You never get over it. It's just something that you learn to live with. And that's kind of what generates the high suicide rate of this of these holiday seasons is losing loved ones, and how such a significance is placed upon these holiday seasons that it becomes a major part of everyone's lives. And when you lose someone who is close to you, knowing that this significant time of the year they're not going to be there is kind of contributing to the suicide rate. So before we continue, I poured myself a little bit more, just as a toast to you, my dear listener. If you lost a loved one, a friend, a pet, even, here is to you. And personally speaking, while I may not have lost a family member, I will say, that I have lost my pet Chalk. I have lost my previous mentor, Dale Clevenger. And to me, maybe not directly blood related, but Shelby's grandmother treated me as a grandson. So here's a little toast to the ones that I've lost, to the ones that you've lost. And let's just keep our friends and family close and let them know that we love them. So, cheers. With that said, along with all of life's priorities and death, sadness, stresses, responsibilities, is something that everyone knows about, doesn't really talk about too much, just because it seems to be clumped in amongst life stresses and depression, anxiety, is seasonal affective disorder, and something that is also known as seasonal depression. So I'm here at the Mayo Clinic website, mayoclinic.org, and they have their own little segment which concerns SAD, literally seasonal affective disorder, SAD. So let's see what the Mayo Clinic has to say, shall we? Seasonal affective disorder is a type of depression that's related to changes in seasons. SAD begins and ends at about the same times every year. If you're like most people with SAD, your symptoms start in the fall and continue into the winter months, sapping your energy and making you feel moody. These symptoms often resolve during the spring and summer months. Less often, SAD causes depression in the spring or early summer and resolves during the fall or winter months. Treatment of SAD include light therapy, phototherapy, psychotherapy, and medications. Don't brush off that early feeling as simply a case of the winter blues or a seasonal funk that you have to tough out on your own. Take steps to keep your mood and motivate steady throughout the year. Symptoms. All right, let's see. In most cases, seasonal affective disorder symptoms appear during late fall, early winter, and go away during the sunnier days of spring and summer. Less commonly, people with the opposite pattern have symptoms that begin, in either case, symptoms may start out mild and become more severe as the season progresses. Signs and symptoms of SAD may include feeling sad or down most of the days, nearly every day, losing interest in activities you once enjoyed, having low energy and feeling sluggish, having problems with sleeping too much, experiencing carbohydrate cravings, overeating and weight gain, having difficulty concentrating, feeling hopeless, worthless, or guilty, having thoughts of not wanting to live. Fall and winter SAD. Let's see. Symptoms specific to winter onset SAD, sometimes called winter depression, may include oversleeping, appetite changes, especially for cravings and foods high in carbohydrates, weight gain, tiredness, and low energy. And spring SAD, symptoms may include trouble sleeping, insomnia, poor appetite, weight loss, agitation or anxiety, and increased irritability. Seasonal changes and bipolar disorder. People who have bipolar disorder are at increased risk of seasonal affective disorder. In some people with bipolar disorder, episodes of mania may be linked to a specific season. For example, spring and summer can bring on symptoms of mania or less intense form of mania, hypomania, anxiety, agitation, irritability. They may also experience depression during the fall and winter months. When to see a doctor? It's normal to have some days when you feel down. But if you feel down for days at a time and you can't get motivated to do activities you normally enjoy, see your healthcare provider. This is especially important if your sleep patterns and appetite have changed. You turn to alcohol for comfort or relaxation, or you feel hopeless and think about suicide. Causes. A specific cause of seasonal affective disorder remains unknown. Some factors that may come into play include your biological clock, or circadian rhythm. The reduced level of sunlight in fall and winter may cause winter onset SAD. This decrease in sunlight may disrupt your body's internal clock and lead to feelings of depression. Serotonin levels. A drop in serotonin, a brain chemical neurotransmitter that affects mood, may play a role in SAD. Reduced sunlight can cause a drop in serotonin that may trigger depression. Melatonin levels. The change in season can disrupt the balance of the body's level in melatonin, which plays a role in sleep patterns and mood. Risk factors. Seasonal affective disorder is diagnosed more often in women than in men, and SAD occurs more frequently in younger adults than in older adults. Factors that may increase your risk of seasonal affective disorder include family history. People with SAD may be more likely to have blood relatives with SAD or another form of depression. Having major depression or bipolar disorder. Symptoms of depression may worsen seasonally if you have one of these conditions. Living far from the equator. SAD appears to be more common among people who live far north or south of the equator. This may be due to decreased sunlight during the winter and longer days during the summer months. Low level of vitamin D. Some vitamin D is produced in the skin when it is exposed to sunlight. Vitamin D can help boost serotonin activity. Less sunlight and not getting enough vitamin D from foods and other sources may result in low levels of vitamin D in the body. Complications. Take signs and symptoms of seasonal affective disorder seriously. As with other types of depression, SAD can get worse and lead to problems if it's not treated. These can include social withdrawal, school or work problems, substance abuse, other mental health disorders such as anxiety or eating disorders, suicidal thoughts, or behaviors. Prevention. There's no known way to prevent the development of seasonal affective disorder. However, if you take steps early on to manage symptoms, you may be able to prevent them from getting worse over time. You may be able to head off serious changes in mood, appetite, and energy levels, as you can predict the time of the year in which these symptoms may start. Treatment can help prevent complications, especially if SAD is diagnosed and treated before symptoms get bad. Some people find it helpful to begin treatment before symptoms would normally start in the fall or winter, and then continue treatment past the time symptoms would normally go away. Other people need continuous treatment to prevent symptoms from returning. By Mayo Clinic staff. Looks like... Oh. They have other articles which are related to. So, again, I read all this because of how the winter months bring on more suicide, whether it's because of SAD, seasonal affective disorder, whether it's because of family members not being there who once were. There's a lot of contributing factors to individual depression. And know that, one, you're not alone. And two, there is always help. There is always someone who wants you to be here amongst us rather than not. Always. And if you are at that point, take advantage of the programs that are around you. For example, my therapist is a part of a community program in the city that I live. The sessions that I pay for are very cheap. And the organization doesn't really care about the money. Like, they're glad to have it, but they don't press the importance of money for the exchange of the services. And I've been with my therapist coming 2 years now, once we hit February. 2 years of therapy. It is slow getting over things. It is slow overpowering yourself, knowing yourself, and changing behavior is very difficult. It's not a matter of, oh man, I'm bad, so I have to change myself. There's more to it. There's more understanding of yourself, realizing, definitely, these are my flaws. This pattern is dangerous. I don't like this. This part of myself which comes out during these circumstances, I know I can do better about it. I don't like that side of me coming out. It is not erasing your personality. It is working and building mental tools to craft yourself personally and mentally and emotionally to who you ultimately want yourself to be. And it's difficult. And like I said, it's slow. I am more in tune with myself than I ever have been in my entire life. But I've only begun to be able to craft myself to where I want to be. You have to hash through a lot of history. And me, everyone goes through it differently. Me, I have this podcast, so I know how to rant, I know how to rave, I know how to go on a tangent at anything. Essentially, I can ramble on, so long as my voice allows me. But it was through these rambles, and maybe the rambles are just a result of me being uncomfortable talking about myself. But I will say this much. I am not uncomfortable talking about myself. I made a point once it was decided that my therapist would take me on twice a week, every week. And we had that for like 8 months, twice a week. I made sure, and I said to myself, this is important. This is new, but this is important. And in order for me to be able to make any type of progress that I want to see for myself, I need to be 100% open and honest to my therapist. Because if I'm open and honest to him, he gets the right idea of who I am. He knows exactly what he's dealing with. And therefore, if I'm open and honest with him, I'm being open and honest about myself. And then I can best help myself by him knowing me. And having that type of explicit trust to someone who's essentially a stranger. Sure, I've had him for nearly 2 years, but I don't really know a whole lot about him. Especially within the exchange of all the information that I've given him, leaving that type of information, expressing those type of vulnerabilities, thoughts, memories, dreams, feelings. It is scary to give someone that type of power, that type of knowledge over you. But knowing that you can say and talk about anything that is on your mind. That type of open environment without judgment. There's a type of great security and solace. It is said that it is best to express yourself and receive advice from an absolute complete stranger because there is no bias. Imagine getting that every single week. Utilize your sources. And if you don't have the time, if you don't have the money in order to be able to have what I have, that therapist, that space of comfort to be able to just go off on those tangents, there is another resource that is free. And I've mentioned them before, and I will always mention them because they are providing such a crucial need within the American society. And that is the suicide hotline, or the suicide and crisis hotline. And it's very easy to get to them. Available 24 hours, absolutely free in English and Spanish languages. And you just dial 988. You can call, you can chat, you can go on their website. But if you're ever at that point in your life where you just need someone, anyone to talk to, you don't feel comfortable talking to your family, you don't feel comfortable talking to your friends, I'm sorry if you're in that position, but someone will listen. Dial 988, talk to them, and hopefully you will have an ear to talk to, even if you don't want them to say anything. And I'm sure they will comply. I've never contacted them myself. I know people close in my life who have, and has helped them. And sometimes it's things that you know. It's things that you've already thought about, things that you already know that you need to do for yourself or for others. But sometimes hearing it back from a different voice rather than your own internal thought process or just you uttering it out loud. Sometimes they're like, well, it sounds like you need to do this and this because this seems to be what you want to do. And it's an epiphany. It's just, oh, of course it is. I said that to myself a week ago, yesterday, today. I didn't realize how simple it was for me to get back on track. I hope that if you were in that position, please, 988, talk to them, get some help. They may even have resources within your area. I don't know what services they provide, but just know that someone wants you here. And no matter what, we go anyway. My philosophy is that no matter what, we're all going to die. We are all always living on borrowed time. And if ultimately we are all going to die, why have it come sooner? Live life. Whether you believe in your religion, whether you believe and have faith in your family, whether you have faith in yourself, we seem to be here for a reason. And if ultimately we're all going to go anyway, why rush it? Let's enjoy what we can while we can. Make the best of what we can while we can. Life sucks. Growing up sucks. Doing this whole thing in this world sucks. Growing up and living in the world when we were Neanderthals and we had to literally kill or be killed sucks. But we live in a world now where we have each other. We have our entire world to be able to connect to anyone in the world in our pocket through technology. The resources are there. It's whether or not you wish to utilize them, whether or not you want to utilize them. You cannot change someone unless they want to be changed. And it's difficult to admit help. Admitting and wanting help is not weakness. It is just the sign for you wanting to grow and for you wanting to be better than what you are now. But you just need a little bit of guidance. That is all that means. There is no weakness nor shame in wanting help. Talk to someone. Just as I have, just as my mother has. I'm sure if I was able to get her back on this podcast, she would gladly talk to you all about the depression that she has felt many times. She's been to a therapist. My roommate, Shelby, yeah, she's been there too. Seek help. If you need it, if you want it, it's there. It is only waiting for you. So, with that said, that is going to be the podcast. Thank you for listening. It is always appreciated. I'm actually working on a couple of potential sponsors, actually. So, I'll let you know how that goes. In the meantime, happy holidays. I will see you all for New Year's, or talk at you all for New Year's. And just stay warm, stay safe. Send a wishful happy holidays from me to your friends and family. They won't know who I am, but that's okay. I still want them to know that I say hello and wish them the very best and the very safest and tons of delicious food. So, again, thank you. Take care of yourselves. Good night. Sleep well. Sweet dreams. One last cheers to you all. And if you know someone who may benefit from the resources which have been described here, make sure to pass it along. Make sure that they know that you care. So, cheers to you, your friends, your family. Happy holidays. And I will talk at you all next week. So until then, au revoir.